Here it is. New changes, January 18th. They are. I don't know what's going on with my stream here. Hold on just a minute. There he goes. um, so, big change, big change, big change. And some lesser changes. In fact, okay, so I knew Blob was going to get hit. Blob was a coming. I knew it when it was created. It was just too big, too strong. I think they may have overdone it. They may have overshot this one. They didn't just nerf Blob. They almost broke him completely. He's usable still, but his standoutness is not what it was by far. The days of 50, 60, 70 are gone. He's at best, 35. Nah, 34. Yeah, probably 34. And that would be with a perfect combination of cards left in your deck. All likelihood, you're probably looking at Blob now being 20, 25. I mean, that's not much bigger than Hulk. And I think on the average, he's going to be really small. Now, they could tweak that. But what they did is they went all in on totally breaking him. Okay, so here's Blob's new stuff. He was a 6'4". On reveal, all your cards' power were added to his own. Now they're doing this 6-0 on reveal. Merge all cards into him until he's got 15 or more power. 15 or more. I mean, there's a good chance that, like, one of the things they mention in here is Thanos and all the little stones in there, and people making him super huge because you've got like 8 more cards in your deck or whatever it is, six more cards in your deck, and the math isn't great. But ultimately, the idea is that you get him out. He comes out early. He's gonna have a bunch of power. Even late in the game, he could potentially have a lot of power because the stones are constantly being drawn and filling up your hand, keeping you from having cards you don't want. But now with all the stones and other small cards, if you have them, there's a good chance you stop at 15, 16, 17. He's still a biggish card, but he's dropped to 6-0. He carries 0 weight on his own. So unless you're keeping very good track of what's in your deck, be very careful because you're not going to get much out of him. If you're ever in one of those situations where he's your only card in your hand on turn 6, he might not grow to being more than a 6 or 7. And a 6-6, 6-7. I mean, I've had times when I didn't even get him to 10 because I only had 1 or 2 cards in my deck that weren't big, so he could end up being really tiny. And for a 6, so keep track of your decks. I'm telling you, look into some of those overlays that tell you what's left, so you can see what you've got for a chance, because that's gonna hurt. Blob's downside is huge now compared to his upside. Where it used to be, his upside was, I mean, it was over the top huge, right? So you can make some pretty good guys. The whole his carry with Living Tribunal has been brutalized by this. It used to be that, you know, you could win with just maybe him and Living Tribunal if you have things protected and you can set it up. You can get a lot going. Now Tribunal's back to being, okay, you got to get a couple of big guys in. You're probably not going to get that same power you once did. At most, you're getting 35 out of him, which again is good, but that's on the ideal, because basically it's 15 or more, right? So once you hit, you'd have to hit like right at 14, and then draw the biggest card in your deck would have to be the next card merged. So what's that? Maybe 20 if you have Infinite and it happens to be the last card merged. If you draw Infinite first and it merges, then you're at 20, right? I mean, you went from 0 to 20, so he becomes a 20. So anything above that, you're going from 20 to 20. So if Infinite's still in your deck, he could, as long as he gets hit at some point, potentially from 14 to 35. Now, if you happen to have a Hulk that's been getting a little bit of extra juice along the way, maybe you get up to 36, 37, but those are some huge stretches and perfect timing required. So Yeah, I think they broke Blob too much. But it'll level out the field. We're not going to see as many of the big card decks. They'll still be there. Shang-Chi and Shadow King have been doing their best to fight these guys, fight him off. But now the playability is different. You know, it's going to definitely soften the Blob world. I think they'll undo some. I think this is the one they want to adjust. I'm thinking that goes up to maybe 20. That's what I'm thinking. But maybe not. Maybe 16, 17, just something to give you a little bit more boost. I don't know. Anyway, Destroyer. Okay, so this is a I mean, he's already pretty big, and going from 15 to 16 is not a big deal. I don't think it's. I don't know how much. I mean, we might see a little bit more of Destroyer, but um, I don't know. Is he that big? I mean, is he a Destroyer? I don't feel like I've seen him that much. I mean, you do have to protect a lot of your cards, and maybe Destroyer now being played with maybe a lot of ones. You play it with Kyera, and hope Kyera's got protection with armor or something. I don't know. Uh, I've tried to do a Destroyer. I've kind of thought about it a couple times. You know, playing in putting in your unkillables like Wolverine and X-23, and then playing armor. And then if you threw in Kyera with a bunch of one little guys, you can protect all your ones too. You know, there's potential there. It's just hard because Destroyer you have to get some good power in the backup spots. You know, in the armored protective spots before he plays. Anyway, Viper. Okay, so again, this is small, but yeah, Viper's pretty good now at 3.5. I mean, even at 3.4, I didn't think it was that bad. And kicking bad cards over to your opponent makes her really good. I don't know why they needed to do this personally. I think Viper was plenty fine for what she did. I guess they're trying to get you to play her more. I don't know, but I thought she was okay. I didn't think this was necessary, unnecessary. Celine. Now this is interesting. So Celine went from a card you would want to feed to your opponents to a card that you would keep, right? The 1/2 is not terrible card to keep. So I guess they kind of explain why they did it, you know, because they were thinking that she'd play more with other cards that she never really did, so they wanted her to be able to do her own thing. You know, they thought she was an Annihilus card, and Annihilus just never really picked up on her. I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't. Um, so the whole point here is to really screw people over, right? Because like if you're playing it with uh, the goblins, you know, either one of them goes from a -3 to -6, -8 to -11. Either way, you're really plummeting those cards down to huge deficits, which could really cripple a person who gets hit by them. Um, so anyway, all right. What I've always wanted to do, which I have done before because I got I got a card handed to me, was like Odin against these cards. I love sending cards back to them after they give it to you. Let's see, Electra. Uh, I think this is cool. I mean, Electra's needed a bump for a while. I don't think people play her enough. A 1/2 might make her a little bit more interesting, especially with, you know, there are cards out there. You know, you go after Nebula or go after Sunspot. Um, Give her a little bit of a kick, and she might become a little more usable. She is a shooter card. I had her in my Destroyer deck for a bit, and I just found her too weak. But no, could be interesting. Could be interesting. Well, probably, you know, the thing is too, she's like any other Destroyer card. Your opponent has to play cards. So if you get her first, do you play her? Do you hold on to her? Do you just like go, do I gamble? The other guy's going to play something? I don't know. Okay, so this one. Let's jump to Hercules first. I'm gonna talk about Dazzler because I'm gonna talk to her along with the fact that they changed Dagger as well. Hercules. Okay, Hercules does not play well. He's not a very synergistic card. I mean, if you can get some cards to move to him, great. There are things you can do, and I've seen people try, but he's an expensive card. And the synergies are to try to get things to move to him so that, you can push him off and hopefully get the benefits, like move Dazzler to him or move Torch to him. You're trying to get cards on top of Hercules so that he kicks them off. And you can't do them both. You can only do one, right? Because he only does the first card. I think they were afraid they had to put the first time, so you didn't really boost, because if you were to get both Torch and Multiple Man and Dazzler all in one spot, and then you do something and shoves them all on top of Hercules, and I put Hercules in the first spot and the three of them in the second spot, and then you shove them all onto Hercules with Odin in the third spot, not Odin, Heimdall, and they all shove on and they shove off, and they all just end up everywhere, all big and powered, and it's too much. So they didn't want people to be doing that stuff. But I don't know if that's going to change Hercules. I think his problem is his price, getting him down, and you only have 2 turns to get that move, get that execution to fire, and only for 1 card. Beyond that, he's just a 4/7. It's there are other 4 cards. 4/7 isn't bad though. That's a pretty strong 4/7, really. But do you want that movement if you're not playing it for that purpose? I don't know. Okay, so let's talk. Let's see. Do I have anything else? No. Okay. So let's talk about Dazzler. I like Dazzler, but this is bad. This is bad. They just lowered her cost. If they call this a buff, again, I would have been ticked. They did not call it a buff. They said our intention was to, make her work with Silver Surfer. But they hoped that they'd play her with Brood. But people haven't been doing that. I do play her in a deck that has Brood, but I play her with other decks. The whole point is that they all have Silver Surfer in them, and they all, the goal is to try. And this form of her was the only, between these two, this gave her a shot at double-digit power. Because you'd get the 6 if you can fill up completely, plus you'd get 2 more from Silver Surfer. So that's 10. You can get double digits. The new version of her is terrible. You can't get the Silver Surfer now, and you still, at most, are going to get 6 more, which is a 2/8 solid. 2/8 is not a bad value if you can get her completely filled up. But there's no way to boost her beyond 2/8 now. 6, yeah, 2/8. Because, okay, you can put Blue Marvel down and get him to 2/9. Get her to 2/9. And if you can manage to do that, and okay, there's combinations that get her up there, but it's hard. No easy way to do it. No planned, reliable way to do it. And I kind of like Dazzler, but now she's going to be really hard. You're going to have to play with a little small cards, maybe some 3s, but she doesn't get any extra boost. You've taken that away from her by taking her out of Silver Surfer's realm. And they've done this a ton where they keep taking 3s and knocking them to 2s and calling it a buff so people will play with her more. It's not how it works, people. It's not how it works. People do not play cards more because you take them from 3 to 2 unless... a lot of people hated that Shadow King went from 3 to 2. He's still a good card, and yes, he still gets played, but he can't be charged. He's weaker now. He's a 2/2 that stays there. He's always a 2/2, but his hopefully is going to do some damage. But if he doesn't, he's really kind of a lame card, right? He's a weak card that's just there to protect you, and he's cheap, so you can maybe afford to put him in your deck. But he's never going to get to be a contributor to the win factor. Anything under 2 or 3, anything under 3, I think is not really a contributor to winning, short of them doing something pretty powerful. Okay, so you have to have a really strong power, and that's why he's still alive at 2/2. He's still being played. It's because he's got a good power. Bringing that around to Dagger. Why? I don't understand. You make this piddly little change to Dazzler, lowering her cost and taking her away from her only chance to make double power, her only realistic chance. And then you do this to Dagger. You take away 2 of her power. Okay, but now she gets +3, which means she's going to be... all she has to do is move twice. Just 2 moves. All you need to manage on her, and she could potentially get as big as 18. If she moves on 2 spots, that's 9 and 9. That's 18. 218. A 2 cost 18 card if she moves twice and gets the right moves. Now, granted, it may not be that much. 18 is kind of a high. But I've seen people move her 3 times. And if you get her with Hercules, she moves. She could easily move. 2 is not a hard thing. And if you get the right combination of things, there's no reason why she doesn't end up being a 18. I think that's reasonable. 215, or call it 215 is probably even just as reasonable, or even more reasonable. That's a huge card, a huge boost to a card I don't think really needed it. I thought she got to be pretty good size most of the time. Even at plus 2 power, she got 2 moves off. She was double digits. Almost every time she was double digits. Now she's easy double digits, if not more, with the second move. I don't get this. Dazzler, what they should have done was give Dazzler plus 3. Leave her at 3-2. Give her the plus 3. Because then even then, she's top 11. At top, she's an 11. Still never going to be gigantic, but she's only going to get to 11. Because she can only get plus, the plus 3 times. That's 9. 9 and 2 is 11. And then maybe 13 if she was able to get Silver Surfer on there. Then she's a decent 3 cost. A 3 cost, though. This is a 2 cost that can hit 15 or more. Easy. Easy. Moving her twice is not that hard. Especially if she gets 1 bump and then you just use any number of cards to move her again and she just flies off the handle. And that's a 2 cost. So she's a massively huge card for mover decks. You kind of have to play Dagger. I think they went wrong. I think this one should have been boosted to get some more power. I don't know. They didn't need to do anything with her. Maybe just if they really wanted to give her more power, make her a 2-3. And so she'd have been a little bit bigger to start. Or heck, if you really got to do it, 2-4. But I don't know why she needs to be bigger. She's already potential. I've seen her get plenty big without the help of being boosted in any way. This is silly. This was bad. So Dagger, sorry guys, developers, you broke that one. That was a developer. That was a total misstep. You broke Dazzler, improved Dagger when she didn't need it, and Blob you basically broke as well. I think Blob you're probably going to tweak later. I hope you fix the other changes. Fine, I don't have a problem with them. They're no huge deal. I don't think any of them are like, ooh, exciting. If you're a big mover fan, Dagger's probably going to be in everybody's deck now for sure. It's definitely a given for any moving deck. You got to play her. She's just too strong not to. There's too much power potential for a 2 cost. Jeez, that's insane. I can't believe they did that. Anyway, that's my state of the game for this January 18th update. And yeah, take it easy.